Hello everybody, welcome back to another video here on my channel, another book related video. And this week I just wanted, while Josh is on another trip, he's been on a trip for a couple days, but I want to make this week fly by just as fast as the last trip, just because he does have spring break afterwards, so then he'll be home and I feel like I'm going to be thinking about this trip too much. I want to just do a basic vlog for the most part. Basically, we're just going to spend a whole week and I'm just going to read like I normally would, but instead I'm just going to film it a little bit. I'm not going to try to necessarily make it a challenge to read like 4 books this week or 1 book. So far this month I've already read about 6 books this month, and this is the last week of July. So let's go ahead and hop over to the 2 books that I'm going to talk about and start with. Last night, or yesterday technically, I've read 100 to almost 200 pages of this book, and I ended up finishing really late last night. And then I started the second book. It's a series or a duology. I stopped on chapter 5 and I only read 35 pages. Put all your thoughts aside when you hear about the author I'm going to talk about, because I know how a lot of people feel about a certain book in a trilogy that was once popular in like 2014, I do believe. I picked up not too long ago, probably about 5 days ago or so, I picked up Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. She is the author of Divergent, and I know how a lot of people feel about Allegiant. Allegiant was my favorite book because at the time when I first read this, when they first came out, Allegiant was the first book to have ever done what the author did to that book. This book though, so far, I don't know, I don't want to say it's necessarily better than Divergent. I think they're both equally great in their own way. They're both great series so far, and I can't talk about the second book. I have no clue what happens in the second book, but I started with this and I finished this last night. Laid everything aside, because if you don't like Veronica Roth because of what she did in Divergent, and if you like Divergent and Insurgent but didn't like Allegiant, try this series so far. I'm not gonna promise the last book like I said, but so far definitely pick up this series. The whole first book is so good, and also it's kind of like the same idea. You got a lot of like almost 50-50. You got a 50-50 action, and then you got the other 50 is more like calm. You get to hear backstory or you get to have other things, but it's a little bit different because you're not actually with the character who's going to be out like Tris was in Divergent. It's more of, they're not in training. I have my own pronunciation. Hopefully they're accurate, but I do have my own pronunciation of the names and the planets and everything like that, and I'm just gonna roll with it. I've already read over 400 pages, almost 500 pages now, so instead I'm not gonna change it. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing anything wrong. We're in a whole new world. We're in a whole new story, and this is actually young adult and sci-fi. She lives on one particular planet and she's born kind of like into royalty, but it's not necessarily, and she's all by herself. She has this current gift, is given by what they call this current that is up in the sky, up in technically space. It gives other people really nice gifts. Some people can see into the future, some people calm people at their touch. Where her current gift was actually damaged, but I'm not going to say why or how. Or she came into her current gift because of something that happened to her early in the story, and she has constant pain, and she also can inflict all of that pain onto people. So she is used to kind of help torture and help persuade and be like that person that stands up there and, you know, intimidates people, even though she doesn't necessarily want that life. She doesn't like actually hurting people too much. Sometimes she does. She thinks that some people deserve pain, but for overall, she doesn't necessarily want to inflict pain onto others because she deals with it all the time. There comes somebody into her life who is Akos. He ends up going to her planet, but technically he's from a neighboring planet, and they cross what the Shotet called the Divide and what the Thuvist call the Feather Grass, and he is now basically there with Syra, and he is the only person besides one other person who can touch her. He doesn't feel pain. His current gift disrupts the current. He basically can help disrupt everybody else's current gift because it doesn't affect him, and so he can touch her. He helps relieve some of her pain, and like I said, there is one other guy who technically can touch her, but it's because he doesn't have like nerve endings, or his current gift is he can't feel pain. The story basically goes along with these two are together, and Akos kind of helps Syra, and Syra in a way kind of helps Akos, but there's a lot going on in the background that I don't want to necessarily spoil. It's very much like action to a point on sometimes, and then sometimes it's just kind of like that nice little, like you're rooting for things to happen, and there's certain things that do happen, and it's just calm. You're kind of reading about their life, and then it kind of picks up, or you get like listening to what might have happened in the past, or what has happened, or what is currently happening happen, and not just the planets in their family and also in each other's lives, and then technically what's might be going on in the future. I have to say, this first book, really great book. So technically I have no clue, like I said, what the second book is. I can't read the inside of this book just because I know it'll spoil a bunch of stuff that is in the second book, and if you really are interested in the series, don't look up the second book because you're gonna spoil a bunch of stuff. But I also really like these covers, and one thing also with the spines and the covers and just the book alone, the other one is dark blue, kind of like how that cover was. This one is green, and you can't maybe see it. It does have like a little bit of texture, and it has actually printed onto it the map that you see on the page. That's a really interesting touch. I kind of like it. This book though is what we are going to start with, and this is about 30 pages, I think less than the other one. The other one was 468, and this one is 430 to 440. I'm hoping to get to this and finish this in a few days, but I'm not going to try and rush, so this is probably going to be a big portion of what we are reading this week. We're going to start with this book. I've rambled way too much on about both of these books, but mainly I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a summary, a little bit of a backstory. Day one of this weekly vlog. Let's go ahead and start with today's reading. Cold cream in my eye. I wanted to do a little update. It is almost 9:30 at night, and I've only made it to 74, 75. I'm gonna continue reading. I'm waiting currently on Josh to get home, or at least to his hotel, from a PR event that they do. I'm waiting for him to get off so that we can talk, and he'll probably crash within the first like hour or so home. I just wanted to kind of do a little update. Nothing much has honestly been going on in the book except for like the beginning pages, what I kind of read, and then there was some like little bit of things. There was a little bit more to the subplot for romance. It was kind of nice to read that. I mean, you're not really reading anything. It is YA, which is, in my opinion, really good because you're not getting too descriptive with stuff. They just were up in space and they're trying to go to one certain planet, I do believe. And apparently right where I stopped, it literally was one sentence that I guess is either going to pick up, or it's just, I don't want to say like a teaser sentence, but maybe not as much going to pick up as I thought. But basically the last sentence that I stopped on, it said, "It worked well. That was until Orgra? I don't know, OGRA came into view." So it sounds like it's gonna pick up some, but that's where I stopped. I'm gonna try to get to around 160 because 160 or page 160 or so is part 2 of the book, which would be really great. So on 164 is part 2, kind of like how the book is in parts. It makes it go kind of fast. There's only, I think this book has 2 more parts than the last book. I think the last one only had 3, maybe 4 parts, and this one has, I think, 5 parts. This book is really great. I've been reading this book when I actually sit down and read it. Today has been a very bad day with my attention span. So yeah, that's it. I just wanted to do a quick update before I honestly just checked out for the night. I'll see y'all in the morning. It's the next morning, and I think I left off last night around 9:30 at night, and also around 70 or so pages, and I was trying to get to 160, or at least that second part, which was actually on 164. Technically last night I only read until chapter 15, which is 137. I stopped here, and that was mainly because of what happened in the last chapter, how it ended. Something happened between Syra and Akos. I didn't want to keep reading after that. It wasn't necessarily the biggest deal, but for me, what I think my biggest problem is with women, especially in books, but my biggest problem and why I just can't stand a lot of characters, it's either women just think of things and they make up things and they think like this is really happening, and in reality they're just overthinking it, or there's this concept of, I understand being insecure. I feel like everybody in one point or another in their lifetime has felt insecure, but being so insecure that you literally think that you are the issue and you will always be the issue and you can't fix yourself, you know, that type where basically you're just being self-destructive. And that's basically what Syra did, and it was just really annoying. This morning though, I did continue reading just a little bit, and I read till that second part, so now I'm kind of caught up of where I want it to be, and we are now on chapter 21, and that is where we will pick up today. I knew it was coming. I did. I knew it was coming. I didn't know that the names were going to be switched like that, but I knew for sure a plot twist was coming, and I had an idea of what it would be, but I have to say it kind of got me just a little bit. It's kind of like cringy. Chapter 26, page 199. I'm just kind of sitting here thinking like, what's next? this next chapter only till page 203, so only like 30 pages long, but alright, continue with that plot twist, but in a good way. Oh snap, some stuff is going down. I think we are going to finish this book today. It's technically, I think, just our third day, but last night I read until 3:12. I was trying to get to this fourth part at 293, and I read ahead all the way until 3:13, 3:12, but then this morning I did read a little bit. I read all the way to chapter 45, and technically I read till 3:38. We only have 10 pages left. It's not very much, but more than most likely we're going to finish this book. There was a lot of different plot twists in a way yesterday, and then there's a lot of new information, and right now I feel like we're getting to a good, not necessarily like a battle part, but I feel like we're getting into a lot of action. There's something that Syra just found out, and I don't want to spoil it, but basically it has to do with somebody else, and she thought that that person lied to her, just left her, all this other things. In reality, there's something major that happened, and now she was already going to one place in particular, but now she's going again. Like, she has a second motivation basically to go there, and she's trying to make sure that that one person isn't going to get hurt or anything like that. I don't want to spoil too much. So far this book is just as good as the first. I think it is just a little bit better, minus the part where Syra was kind of annoying me just because she would try and like pick a fight with any and everybody. And then there are a few parts where I've noticed that, I don't know if it's because I read both books back to back within a few days, or if it's just how Veronica Roth is, but she has repeated a lot of things in this book, or it might have been in just like the whole series, but it's like a lot of little impertinent details that she decided, since we're talking about it, she just has to kind of ramble and put that in, even though it's repeating. And if you read the first book, you would understand everything, and if you read even just half of the second book, I still think you would get all the information that she repeats, still continuing on. Since we only have 100 pages left and we're 338 pages in, I feel like there should be no reason for repeats at all to kind of recap the last book or recap what happened in the beginning of this book. I just feel like it's kind of redundant. We're kind of past that, but other than that, I have no complaints about this book so far. I feel like it's really good. I really enjoyed the plot twists, because in the beginning, if you read the book, you might know what the fates are for each of them, and I was honestly thinking in the beginning that it was going to be similar to the last book of Divergent, but I was hoping that she would turn it, she would do something to where it was like not going to come out or not going to follow their fate. There's just something else that happens, but just something altogether that just happens to basically plot twist, and it's like a good one. I feel like it's pretty decent. It's one that I seen it come in also, and then you get told about it, so there's two different things, but I didn't know for sure how it would turn. And when the plot twist did happen, I wasn't necessarily 100% shocked, but at the same time I was like, ooh, this is pretty good. Okay, do your thing. And then when you read on, you find out a little bit more about like the fates and stuff, and I think it is just so good. So far I'm thinking this is gonna be a 4-star book like the last book. I'm thinking it's gonna be pretty dang decent, and I have to say, 2 different series from Veronica Roth are really good so far. I'm gonna wait till the ending 100%. Yeah, that's my update for this morning. I'm gonna try and finish this book today. Hopefully you can hear me over the dryer. It's the same day. I just went out, and because of how hot, it's still like 110 degrees outside, I changed my clothes, threw up my hair, and I'm on page 353. And the thing that just happened when Akos is eating with someone in particular, and they uncover like a plate and there's a jar in there, I was hoping this whole time that it wouldn't happen, and of course it happened. And I'm not gonna lie, after reading the rest of the sentence, I instantly was like, just because I knew it was gonna happen, but at the same time I was really hoping it didn't happen. right, a new day, a new update. So last night we were reading The Fate Divides and I was trying to finish this book and I did finish it. I wasn't sure if I was going to towards the middle of the day just because my son and I had to get out of the house, and more so my son. We spent a couple hours out. I was kind of worried about finishing this last night, but then I also sat down and it picked up pace. Even though I was already kind of like fast paced to a point, it picked up even faster pace and there was a lot of things that happened. And in a way, I was just very intrigued. I absolutely love this book. This was still a 4-star book, just like the first one. There were some parts of this book that I didn't like as much. I think the first one to me is better than this one, but I also like the relationship. Syra and Akos as like friends, like how they built together, how they became what they were. I do like that a little bit more than by the second book. They were already what they were, and there was also some other things going on. And like I said, Syra was picking fights with people. And there's also some twist in this book though that were so much better than the first. But I think personally, I'm gonna go with the first one just because of the relationship building between the two of them. I don't want to hype up the series and then have somebody read the series and be like, the series sucks, it's not even good, it's worse than Divergent. To me personally, I like the ending a little bit more and I love Divergent. I have read the beach read from her and I did enjoy it. I rated it 4 stars, but I did not think that it deserved the hype, but I was also kind of in a slump. Apparently this book though is one of everybody's least favorite books by her. I think it goes this book, Book Lovers, Beach Read, and now Happy Place is everybody's favorite. I'm not 100% positive on that, but I've heard a lot of negative things about this book. It is only around 364 pages, so it's not too long. 5 days left. I could definitely finish this and then maybe that will be the rest. This will probably be the rest of the video because I'm definitely not reading this in one sitting for sure. A whole nother day, and yesterday I started on People We Meet on Vacation. And I say started on because that's pretty much all I did. I only read till chapter 2, which is page 25. You know what? This is a very realistic reading vlog. Sometimes I feel like reading 100 to 200 pages a day. And then there's days that go by, especially after I finish a series, where I just feel like, I did enough reading, I can just sit and just do other things. And that's kind of what I did. Hopefully today I'll read a little bit. I know I want to deep clean the house really good. I don't know. I'm not gonna put a time limit on that, and I'm sorry. I was kind of honestly hoping to be towards halfway point, which I think would be around 160 or so. I think this is a 300 oh, it's a 360 page book. So I wanted to be originally around halfway. I don't know, maybe we'll get there later today. I feel like I'm finally like slowing down on my reading, which is okay. As long as I finish this book in the next 5 days, I am golden. Alright, I want to do my final update and also end out this video. I read until page 190. I know it's not the end of the book, but this is, like I said, a more realistic to a reading in my life, or a reading for a week in my life, I guess I should say. Pretty much, I just want to kind of talk about this book about people we made it on vacation. So far, I have to say, I kind of like the idea of having every other chapter for the most part, not necessarily continuing in the same time frame of this summer, but also going back all the way to 12 summers ago, I do believe, and then counting down each summer to, I think it was 2 summers ago or so, Poppy and Alex had a sort of falling out. I will say I don't know if the falling out, like why it happened, will, when it gets revealed, will be good enough. I feel like, you know, it's nice to have it kind of dragged out. It might be good. I kind of like the chapters, but at the same time, I almost wonder if when it is revealed of why they had this falling out for a hot minute, maybe it's not, it's kind of like anticlimactic. It's not as big of a reason. It's kind of unnecessary. But other than that, I am actually enjoying this book, and I think, don't hate me for this, but I think this is honestly a better book than Beach Read. And I still rated Beach Read 4 stars. It wasn't like it was necessarily bad. I just sometimes didn't like some of the things that happened. So pretty much we read to 190 pages. I'm just going to go over all of the pages and what all I read in the last 5 days, since I'm only doing this as a 5-day week instead of a full 7-day week. I have everything here on my phone. So on day 1, we started on page 34 of The Fates Divide, and I read all the way until page 137 that first day, which technically was only 103 pages read. Then day 2, I started on page 137 and read all the way till 312 of The Fates Divide, which was 175 pages total. Day 3 was started on 312, ending on 443. So I just finished the book on that day, which was really good. So that was 131 pages read. And then day 4, we started on People We Meet on Vacation, but I only read about 25 pages. So, and then for day 5, our final day, I started on page 25 and then I read all the way to 190. So that was a total of 165 pages. And overall, over the course of 5 days, I read exactly exactly 599 pages. So I'm gonna call that really good. I had a really good week on reading and I'm excited to continue, hopefully finish this book, which I should finish it in the next day, maybe 2 days at the max, but we only have 3 days left of the month. So that will be good because it's at least one book crossed off my future TBR, but also just another book crossed off. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Stay tuned for any upcoming book related videos here on my channel. I'll see y'all next week and God bless.